Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, didn't see you there. Welcome to Tony Needs Hobbies. My name is Tony, and in this video I am going to show you how I made this knife filing jig, as well as what I will be making with it in one of the upcoming videos. Have fun watching. The jig will be built out of 18mm thick plywood. I had this pre-cut in the correct width at the hardware store, since I don't have space for a table saw. I have 2 pieces of 10cm and 2 pieces of 15cm wide. They're 60cm long, but I still have to cut the pieces to size. I will also need a piece of steel to guide the file and some assorted hardware. T-nuts, an M8 eye bolt, some M8 bolts, 2 hose clamps, a wing nut, some M8 washers and some screws. The jig will be built guided by this sketch that I made. The dimensions are guidelines that I will change as I go to make sure the jig fits on this workbench. Once the video is complete, I will put these building instructions on my website www.tonyneedshobbies.com. Let's start by marking where to cut the wood according to the drawings that I made. And when all the dimensions are marked, I will cut the wood on my new miter saw. When that's done, I bring the wood back inside to mark the locations where the T-nuts will go. This jig is inspired by one built by Gough Customs, but it's different in a sense that I'm going to put T-nuts in between the 2 layers of plywood. This allows for a more durable connection between the eye bolt and bolts with the wood, instead of just screwing the bolts in the wood. I'll post a link to the video that inspired me in the description, and now I'll show you how to put the T-nuts in between the pieces of wood. It's not that difficult. I start with drilling a large and just deep enough hole on all the marked locations using a 25mm Forstner drill bit. In the center of each hole I drill a hole through the wood where the threaded part of the T-nut fits through. In my case it requires a 10mm hole for the M8 T-nut to snugly fit. When those holes are drilled, I lay out the pieces again to mark the locations for the holes on the other pieces, so the bolts can go all the way through the wood. I flip the boards to double check the holes are at the correct location, and then it's time to drill again. This time using an 8mm drill bit so that the bolt doesn't jiggle too much. When all the holes are prepared, the next step is to fit the T-nuts into the holes. This is really easy, just hit them with a hammer until the flange is level with the wood. I use a round hammer with the same size as the hole to guide the T-nuts in and give it a few good hits with a heavy hammer. It's no rocket science. Then, before gluing it all together, I pre-drill some holes for screws and countersink them. This is going to be the back of the device, so the screws will not be visible in the end. I apply a generous amount of wood glue to the boards with the T-nuts in, working around the holes. Then I lay out the jig again and put in the screws to secure everything tightly and let the glue cure overnight. The next day I prepare the jig for varnish application by sanding all the rough edges and corners to make it feel and look a bit better. I applied 2 layers of this tough, transparent varnish with light sanding between the applications of the first and second layer. I applied 2 layers of varnish and let it dry overnight. Now it looks good, feels smooth and is protected for a long period of time. The next step is making and adjusting the hardware, and I will start by making the file guide. The guide will be a 70 cm steel rod. Any diameter will do as long as it fits through the eye bolt. This will be more or less how the final thing will be constructed. Out of this scrap piece of wood I will make 2 spacers to fill the gap between the rod and the file. It has to be the same width as the file with a hole in the top to fit the rod in. Luckily I have a round file with the same diameter. Then I round the top and make the spacers look good on the small disc sander. Before putting it all together, the next step is important. When filing a knife you want to get a nice plunge line. That's difficult since a file has a 90-degree angle. In this step I grind off the edges of the file so it's a little bit easier to get a good plunge line on the knife. At least that's what I hope. And with that done, everything is ready to be assembled and tested. The file and rod go through the hose clamp with the spacers in between. Then it's secured tightly, after which the same is done for the other end of the file. A quick look to see if everything looks okay and I can move on to testing this device on a scrap piece of mild steel. In the next video I am going to put this jig to the test by building this Build a Knife box that I got from the Alec Steele Co. It's a Sheepsfoot knife and I'm going to have a whole lot of fun trying to build it. If you don't want to miss that video, then please subscribe to this channel and also let me know what you thought of this video either by dropping me a comment or hitting the like button. That's it for now. I would like to thank you for watching. Bye bye.